We're talking about how to start an LLC in Mississippi, and what you can see behind me here is a checklist that we're going to go through that's going to explain exactly how to do this. So here's the checklist itself, but before we get to that, what I want to talk about is the LLC dumpster fire. Now, what that is you get your LLC set up, but you're not familiar with terms such as piercing the corporate veil, commingling funds, registered agents, or pass-through taxation, or perhaps you don't take the steps that are necessary after LLC formation, such as knowing how the LLC renewal process works, or looking into the proper business licenses and permits. Now, all of these things, if you don't do these correctly or you don't understand what these terms mean, they can create a lot of potential liability for your new business. Now, to better explain this, what we're going to do is we're going to zoom out a little bit to start this video. And we're going to talk about what an LLC actually does for your business so we can break these things down and then get into the checklist of starting your LLC. Now, what we're going to go with here is this drop down right here. And we're going to start with talking about the fact that an LLC does two things. It offers limited liability protection, and it also offers pass-through taxation. To best explain the limited liability protection, why don't we look at the example of owning a coffee shop without an LLC. What you can see here is there's a person in the middle, the business owner. Left-hand side, you have their personal home, personal car, personal bank account. Right-hand side are the business assets, in this case, a coffee shop. So you have the physical location, point of sale, business bank account, espresso machines, lights. Everything is tied back to the owner when you don't have an LLC like this. There's nothing limiting the liability. Now, when you get an LLC and that LLC owns the coffee shop, it looks very different. Now what you have here is the business owner on the left-hand side with their personal car, home, and bank account. On the right-hand side, we're having what we're calling Acme Coffee LLC. Now the LLC has those assets underneath it. So those same ones, the bank account, the espresso machine, all of that is within the LLC. The important thing here is this red line in the middle. This is something called the corporate veil. And what that is it creates a division between your business and personal assets. Because if you were to be sued, somebody suing you could come after your business assets, but not your personal. Now, earlier you may recall we talked about piercing the corporate veil, and we're going to explain this through the concept of commingling funds right now. And I'm so glad you're watching this because this is going to be so helpful for your business just to make sure you don't end up in a rough spot down the line. So take the time to watch all this content. You'll thank me later. Now, with commingling funds, what that is we have this personal bank account here on the left-hand side. Now, a lot of times business owners don't take the proper steps and don't get a business bank account right away. What they do is they run the business through their personal bank account. This is called commingling funds. If somebody were to be hurt in your coffee shop and you're commingling funds and they hire an attorney to sue you, if they're a good attorney, what they're going to do is try to find cracks in your LLC. Now, if they find out you're commingling funds and they present the evidence to a judge and the judge agrees with them and grants them permission to pierce the corporate veil, what happens is the corporate veil, that division between your personal and business assets, it disappears and they're able to come after your personal assets as well. Now, that is why it's so important to get an LLC set up, but also make sure that it's set up correctly and you're familiar with all these terms. Now, what I want to talk about next, though, is something called the pass-through taxation. So we're going to explain that right now. Now, what happens with an LLC? We have Acme Coffee LLC. The IRS is not taxing the LLC. What we have here is we have grossed $140,000 of income. We have $90,000 of expenses, leaving $50,000 of net income. That $50,000 in net income, that passes through to the business owner, the owner of the LLC. It's also called flow-through taxation. I just wanted you to be aware of this because when when the taxes come due, just know that you're going to see this on your personal tax return, which is also a benefit to you because if you have a CPA filing your tax returns for you, it's a little bit cheaper as opposed to like a C Corp, S Corp situation. Now, the cool thing about the LLC is it's very flexible. Now, what you have here is a quick mention here that says in the future, you can apply an S Corp designation to reduce your taxes. So you can still have an LLC, but apply for it to be taxed as an S Corp. The reason you do this is once you're around $40,000 to $50,000 of net income, you can save on taxes with that designation. That's going to be something we're going to talk about in the third video of this series, and I highly suggest you watch all the videos because it's going to set you up for success. But it's not just about getting your LLC set up, it's also about making sure that you're using it and optimizing it to help your business grow. Now, what you have down here is the checklist for starting your LLC. First one, very simple, is that there's a QR code that's going to be on screen that you can scan that, or in the description of this video is a link you can get this checklist for yourself for free. Now, it's more than just a checklist. What we have down here is a glossary of terms. And what I would suggest is you watch this LLC scam video, because it's very common that people end up losing a couple $100 after they get their LLC set up. But in the bonuses section, we have an AI chatbot. So this is where you can ask it questions such as, how do I start an LLC in Mississippi? How do I register an EIN? It'll give you step-by-step details and data on this. We're actually going to be explaining that in the course of this video. But if you're looking for name ideas for your LLC, you can actually plug this in and it'll give you ideas for your name as well. There's a free charitable opportunity. You can get $20 when you're getting set up with your LLC that you can give to charity. A yearly accounting calendar. Again, we're going to explain this in a future video in the series, so stick with me to the end of the video. We'll highlight the next video in the series, but we're going to talk about all the important dates for your LLC as well. So all this is going to be very, very helpful for you. So make sure you get this for yourself. Next, you can see here is decide which route you want to go. Do you want to go through the state website? Do you want to go through online legal tools or a business attorney? Business attorney is going to be the most tailored to your needs, but it's going to be by far the most expensive, probably $1,000, $2,000. When you go through the state website or online legal tools, that's going to be your cheapest route. The online legal tools, there are a lot of upsells, so you can spend more. The state website, there's no upsells, but there's also not additional features. So like if you want help getting your domain set up or your email or your website or taxes, all those kinds of things, that's where the state website is not going to help you on those things. For the purpose of this video, what we're going to talk about is going through the state website. But then in the next video, we're going to do a detailed breakdown of comparing these three options for you. The thing I'll say is a lot of times people will overspend up to $1,500 when they get their LLC set up, even going through the online legal tools. So we're going to break that down in the next video. But now what I want to talk about is deciding about a name for your LLC. The important thing here is that the name is unique. Now, you can't have an LLC name that's already taken within the state of Mississippi. But what I will say is it doesn't have to be the perfect name. And that's because you can have an LLC name like Acme Coffee LLC, but underneath it, you can have something called a DBA, which is a doing business as, or a fictitious name. And what this allows you to do is have a brand name such as like Espresso Yourself Cafe. So you don't have to have a brand name be your LLC name. Now, once you do have an LLC name in mind, what you need to do is go to the state directory, and then we're going to go down to Mississippi. And once you get into Mississippi here, you can see there's a business name search. Now, let's say we put in Bulldogs. What do we get here? You'll see there's a bunch of different Bulldog names here, which makes sense. But if I kind of jam out on the keyboard here and just do a search, here's what you see is that we have no business results found, no matches found right here. That is what you're looking for when you look through the state database for your LLC name. So once you have a unique name, then what you can do is you can go through the process of forming your LLC. The first one right here is talking about registering your LLC name. Now, I mention this because I don't want you to be confused. When you register the LLC name, you're just simply registering the name. You're not actually filing the articles of organization, which forms your LLC. So sometimes people get confused by that, so I just wanted to make mention. What you need to do is write your articles of organization and then file those and assign a registered agent. So what we have here is the state directory list again. And in the bullet points, it gives you like a primary kind of overview of what the articles of organization are about. But what we're going to do is we're going to actually find the PDF form of it. So what we have here is the actual articles of organization. Now you can go directly through the state website and create an account and then log in and be able to do this online. But I wanted to do this just to highlight a few points here just to educate you further. You have the name of the corporation, the effective date. For nonprofits, you have this here. For profits only, the number and classes. But what I wanted to highlight here is the name and street address of the registered agent and office. Now, there's a few things you have to know here. With a registered agent, that is a third party that handles important communication and documentation for your business. Now, they have to have a physical mailing address within the state of Mississippi, and it cannot be a P.O. box, and you have to have a registered agent on file. So they ask you for the information, but they don't actually tell you any kind of services out there who you could use. So when you use the online legal tools, they partner with registered agent services, and one of them in particular actually gives you a registered agent for free for the first year. So that's something to look into. But what you have here is it says also, please make a $50 check payable to the Mississippi Secretary of State. So as I'm making this video, it's $50. It could go up in the future, but just know that filing fee to the Secretary of State, you're not getting around that regardless of which route you go. You are going to pay at least $50. Now, once you have this articles of organization filled out, you're going to sign it and then be able to send that into the state. And then what you're going to do is you've assigned a registered agent, you filed your articles of organization. What you may want to consider now is creating and signing an LLC operating agreement. What that is it's a situation where an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Now, let's say that your coffee shop blows up, you got 12 locations, and you have a business partner that you started with day one, and that partner wants out of the business. Well, how do you handle that situation? An LLC operating agreement will lay out who are the members and managers of the LLC, what are their roles and responsibilities, and also lay out things such as like what happens if somebody wants to exit the business. When that's laid out and ahead of time, that's simply the agreed upon strategy there, and you just kind of point back to that document. And sure, there may be a little bit of back and forth, but that's going to tell you what you need to do because you've already written out this agreement. If you don't have that in place, you may be looking at tens of thousands of dollars in legal battle fees, trying to figure out what the value of this company is and then what this person should get as they exit this company prematurely. So you can kind of see how an LLC operating agreement can save you a lot of headaches down the line if you get that set up. The state website typically isn't going to help you with this. If you go through the online legal tools, they'll have a boilerplate template for you that you can use, and a business attorney will dial it in for you specific to your needs, but it will be more expensive with the business attorney. And again, not required, just a good idea to do that. What you may want to consider here is setting up an EIN after your LLC formation. This is the link to the IRS page to set up an EIN. An EIN is an employer identification number. It's like a social security number for your business, so the IRS can identify your business. So if you have employees on staff that you have on payroll, you're going to need an EIN to run payroll. Also, you may want to consider if you're applying for a loan or an office space, a lot of times they'll ask you for a social security number or an EIN. It just looks more professional than the EIN. And what I would say is it's free to set up, so you might as well do it and get this taken care of. And then you can do this through the IRS website, but also those online legal tools can do this for you as well too. Now, next, you want to obtain a business licenses and permits. You don't necessarily have to have a business license and permit. It just kind of depends on what your business is, right? But these can happen on the federal, state, and local level. Now, let's take the example of starting a brewery. Now, with that, you're going to be brewing beer, distributing beer, and also serving beer on premise. Those three things can each require different licenses and permits. What I would recommend for your business, and sometimes you don't need these things. Like you're like, I just have an online business. I'm like blogging or something like that. You're probably not going to need a license and permit, but there's a lot of things you will need it for. So I would start with calling your town or city clerk and then tell them, hey, I'm starting this business. I just want to know what kind of licenses and permits I need on the town or county level. And they'll be able to provide that information to you. You can also go to Google on the state level and just search this as well. And you can also search it on the federal level. Also, when you get this document here, we send you a nice resource on licenses and permits and how you can research this for yourself as well. But just know that you're not done necessarily after you get your LLC set up. You want to make sure that you have these licenses and permits set up. The online legal tools as well will do this research for you and help set you up. But that's usually an additional fee ranging from around $99 to $150. But that is an option for you as well. Now, speaking of the different options for you for state, online tools, or attorney, in the next video, we're going to deep dive into this, and it's really important because I've seen people overspend by close to $1,500 by going the wrong route when they get their LLC set up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to break down the fees associated with your LLC, and it's not just the filing fee, it's the maintenance fees, it's the hidden fees that go into some of the subscriptions. So what we have here, it's going to be an embedded cost calculator that is going to show you down to the dollar what it costs to own your LLC for 5 years, okay? Then what we got here is there's a star ratings that we're going to go into and just kind of comparing the different options for you and where the star ratings come from. We also talk about why the state websites become a pain, and it has to do with domestic versus foreign LLCs. And then lastly, what we're going to do is we're going to go through different questions worth asking yourself to determine which path could be the right path for you when you get formed with your LLC. Now, again, before you get to the next video, I'd recommend you get this checklist for yourself. It's absolutely free, and there's a link in the description below. And then what we're going to do is we're going to work through it on the next video here. And in this video, we're going to help you save money and make sure you get set up the right way with your LLC. All right, we'll catch you in the next video.